This is DateLine with CFJ. Headline breaking news with a little snark thrown in. DateLine, West Virginia. The man who should be president, Mitt Romney, was stumping for Shelley Moore Capito recently, who is vying to win the seat of Democrat Jay Rockefeller, who is retiring this year. The multi-millionaire Rockefeller saw the handwriting on the wall as he is leaving before the Republican tsunami coming in November takes him out. He could see that his constituents are sick of Democrat plutocrats getting rich in D.C. while their state suffers without their voice being heard. Mitt Romney was treated like a rock star in all of his appearances and heard calls for him to run again in 2016, as he did win West Virginia by 36% over Barack Obama in 2012. But besides stating over and over that he's not running again, Mitt said something that riled up the left. The truth usually does.
Ouch!
Romney said that Obama is doing even worse than he expected. That's coming from a man who, in the debate back in 2012, exposed the president as a commander-in-chief that doesn't even know the meaning of geopolitical foe, and exposed him as a liar over Benghazi. Mr. Romney, those of us who voted for you knew exactly how bad Obama would be in the second term. DateLine, Ferguson, Missouri. Breaking news, this just in. Eric Holder just indicted Mike Brown's friend Dorian Johnson on civil charges for lying that incited the riots. For those of you who don't know, Dorian Johnson was with Brown as they robbed the liquor store of cigars and was the eyewitness of the shooting. Johnson lied to the police and the media by saying that the officers shot Brown in the back 6 times execution style, and this lie was the fuse that lit the powder keg in Ferguson. Attorney General Eric Holder shows that justice is not only blind, but this justice is also colorblind. Indicting Johnson is a courageous move by Holder because it will send a message to other people that they can't lie and incite riots and walk away from the unrest and damage their bald-faced lies have caused. Thank you for your true justice, Mr. Holder.
Surprise, surprise, surprise.
Just kidding.
Say what?
Eric Holder will not only never bring charges against Johnson, but he is one of the main reasons that race relations are worse off than they were back in 2009 when this purely political activist and racist became the Attorney General. A disgraceful Attorney General.
That's the fact, Jack! That's a fact, Jack!
DateLine, Texas. New jobs data that came out last week show exactly what kind of governor Rick Perry has been. As the Democrat attack dogs go after Perry with trumped-up charges, his star looks to be rising for a 2016 presidential run. The Democrats are unhinged because Perry showed America what a real leader does with a crisis, such as his actions to secure the border as the president was too busy fundraising. The report that came out shows that Texas has created 1.1 million jobs so far this year. Barack Obama's record for job creation to date was 800,000 created. So if you pull out Texas from the mix, as Perry should be credited anyway, Obama has a net loss of minus 300,000 jobs created this year.
Say what?
That's right. You can't argue with numbers. Rick Perry, with less than 7% of the population, created 5 times the jobs as Obama has in the remaining 49 states. Or is it the remaining 56 states?
57 states.
DateLine, Harlem. 84-year-old Democrat Congressman Charlie Rangel, that has represented Harlem for over 20 years, how's that working out for you? Is showing that, as usual, liberals have no shame.
Shame on you.
One of the 13 counts that he was charged for was tax evasion, At the time, he was in charge of writing the United States tax code in the House as chairman of Ways and Means. How's that for irony? The ethically challenged Democrats have Rangel as their role model. He was shaking down companies in front of his Ways and Means Committee for donations. He did not declare income from his beachside villa in the Dominican Republic. He took free trips to the Caribbean funded by corporations with interests before Congress and the Ways and Means Committee, failed to disclose properties he owns in Florida worth over $500,000, and he created tax loopholes for foreign companies that donated over $1 million to the City College of New York School, named after Rangel. All of these crimes were brought to light back in 2010. He finally stepped down from the chairmanship of Ways and Means only after Pelosi decided that the bad press from the Cook-Rangel just might hurt them in the upcoming midterm elections. But right after the bipartisan four-member investigation subcommittee of the House Ethics Committee decided that Rangel violated a range of ethics and then the House censured him, Pelosi threw Rangel a fundraiser.
Oh my God!
It's true. And now Rangel is suing the House for the censure. He wants all the crimes he committed to just disappear. Typical Democrat. Commits crimes, gets rich beyond belief, and then blames the people who caught him.
Talk about chicken shit.
DateLine. Martha's Vineyard.
Champagne wishes and caviar dreams.
President Obama, the commander-in-chief, was beyond himself with the beheading of American reporter James Foley. He vowed to bring the perpetrators to justice. His riveting 7-minute speech had everyone on the edge of their seats. He was so upset at the fact that he had indirectly caused the gruesome death of Foley due to his feckless foreign policy in Syria that he had to take just a few extra practice swings before hitting the golf course.
4! 4! Well, I yelled 4, you idiot. That's what 4 means.
That's right, people. The President of the United States came out to speak about the butchering of an American for a whole 7 minutes and then went golfing as James Foley's parents were still talking about their grief about losing their son in such a horrific way.
Shame on you, Mr. President.
Now we here at the Ascend Conservatism show have called Barack Obama clueless before, but this heartless, laissez-faire attitude when a person gets beheaded, when your joke of a Syrian red line gave birth to the group who perpetrated this barbaric act, and you go golfing?
Piece of shit.
DateLine. Austin, Texas. Back on April 15th, 2013, the Travis County District Attorney, Rosemary Lemberg, was arrested for drunk driving. There was an open vodka bottle in her car, and her blood alcohol was nearly 3 times the legal limit.
I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking. I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking.
She abused the female police officers trying to book her and had to be restrained and was administered a spit mask as not to turn into Hannibal Lecter.
I ate his liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti.
All this is on YouTube for your viewing pleasure, and it is to be educational as to what Democrats consider the character needed to lead their public integrity unit.
Say what?
Yeah, a lot of integrity. And to top it all off, the slimy Democrats file an abuse of power lawsuit against Governor Perry, who tried to use his constitutional right of the veto to remove this unethical lush. Even Harvard law professor Alan Dershowitz said this is, quote, what happens in totalitarian societies, unquote. And this is the crux of the Democrat machine since taking the House and Senate on January 3rd, 2007. Control. They want to ride roughshod over America's personal freedoms and, while in power, abuse that power and attack anyone who questions that power. This frivolous lawsuit will not only catapult Governor Perry to a 2016 run for president, but it will also expose America to the filthy Democrat slime machine.
You got slime!
DateLine. Eric Holder update. As we continue to report here on the Ascend Conservatism show, the most lawless Attorney General in history was ordered to turn over all the documents on the Operation Fast and Furious that has caused hundreds of deaths on both sides of the Mexican-American border. These are the same documents that Holder and President Obama claimed didn't exist in the first place.
No!
These are the same documents that President Obama tried to hide illegally by using executive privilege.
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
Since a D.C. judge revoked that pathetic attempt at a cover-up, these sure-to-be damning documents must be released. So let's check in at the Department of Injustice as Eric Holder is getting all the papers together to be turned over to investigators. If you listen closely, you can actually hear Holder himself gathering each paper piece by piece very carefully. If you listen, you can hear Holder hard at work with the Fast and Furious documents. DateLine. Reality. It was another bad week for environmentals as the global warming hoaxers keep getting bitch-slapped by Mother Nature.
Come on, what's the matter with you?
With a massive cold front moving to Wyoming and Montana, they are bracing for snow. In August. It's August, people. Global warming and there's snow in August?
I'm dreaming of a white Christmas.
Besides the already snowfall record set this summer, throughout the United States, daily record minimums have outnumbered record maximums 3-to-1 in the last 30 days. The numbers break down like this. The daily record high temps in the last 30 days are 368, but all-time record lows in the same period are 1,072.
Say what?
I don't make this stuff up. Not only that, monthly record highs are 6, while monthly record lows are 17, with 3 new snow records set. So if you ask these environmentals, what happened to their global warming, they'll most likely give you an answer like this. DateLine. Langley, Virginia. With the pathetic but predictable leak of classified information about a failed attempt to rescue recently killed American journalist James Foley and the other hostages, a stunning point was made, unintentionally as usual. With scathing criticism of the President, Secretaries of State Hillary Clinton and John Kerry, as well as a bumbling Secretary of Defense Chuck Hagel,
You're a moron!
Even coming from the left, the imploding White House turned to a tried-and-true tactic: leak classified information to their buddies in the press. The White House leaked that they actually tried to rescue Foley and the others earlier this summer, and failed miserably because of bogus intel. Not only does this remind everyone of Obama's twin and epic failed foreign policy disasters, Jimmy Carter, but it shows how they only care about optics and what they wanted to do. Trying to show the world that they actually tried to save the hostages, they pointed out to what I have been saying for years. The droner-in-chief has given up on capturing terrorist scumbags and interrogating them for true intel, and this is the result. Bogus intel because we refuse to capture terrorists and learn about future attacks, as well as things like where are the hostages being held. But as usual, President Obama is more interested in talking points, like how many terrorists he droned today, instead of actually doing his job and protecting the homeland by any means necessary. And that does mean enhanced interrogation.
You disgust me. DateLine. Flashback.
This from our July 21st show. DateLine, Socialist France. President Barack Obama this week espoused admiration for the French economy. With unemployment over there at 10.4%, there are more people depending on government handouts. Admirable to Obama. And with a proposed 75% tax rate on the wealthy, you can actually see the dollar signs in his eyes. The only problem with the French economy is that over 50% of the youth, if they had the chance, would leave France because of the economic doldrums. I have a good idea. These kids who want to work can come over here, and since Obama loves France so much, why doesn't he just move over there? I know someone he can hang out with in France that stinks just about as much as he does.
Hello, Pepe. I am Pepe Le Pew. The Grande Illusion.
DateLine, Mexico. This portion of DateLine is a snark-free zone. Sergeant Andrew Tamaresi, who actually did serve his country with honor and distinction with 2 tours in Afghanistan and is suffering from PTSD, is still suffering in a jail for accidentally making a wrong turn at the border. Andrew's attorney, Fernando Benitez, plans to file a motion this week to throw out evidence obtained in the early hours of his arrest. After his 8-hour detainment on March 31st, he wasn't given a translator to adequately explain why he was being arrested. The motion will claim that this was denying his civil rights. Now everyone out there, let's phone blitz the Mexican embassy in D.C. at 202-728-1600. That's area code 202-728-1600. Let's give them an incentive to pressure the judge to declare a mistrial and send Andrew home, where he belongs. DateLine, San Francisco. While we regularly document the monumental hypocrisy on the left on WAAR Radio, this has to be up there towards the top of the list. Liberals in the Golden State have created their own Depression-style dust bowl in the Central Valley, all due to a 2-inch fish, the Delta smelt.
Say what?
Supposed conservationists in the loony blue state are keen on saving endangered species such as the teeny tiny fish that nobody with sense cares about. The only problem with the California state and D.C. liberals cutting off the water to the farms in the San Joaquin Valley is that they have created a new endangered species, the California worker.
Oh my God!
Unemployment was minimal in the Cali farm areas in the Central Valley up until the little fish caught the eye of phony liberal do-gooders in Sacramento and D.C. And now, unemployment for the last 5 years has hovered around 50% in the Central Valley.
Say what?
50% unemployment caused by Democrats. But here's the hypocrisy kicker. Craig Manson, who heads the Center for Environmental Science, Accuracy, and Reliability, filed a federal complaint that San Fran freak show liberal power elites like former Speaker Nancy Pelosi, who once said,
"I don't know what was so great about the Depression, but that's the name they give it,"
enjoy a loophole and do not have to ration water like the farmers do. Now, with Pelosi's net worth well over $100 million and the Central Valley suffering from 50% unemployment because they have their water cut off, just shows how hypocritical the liberal elite are and how, in fact, they are not for the little people like they love to say.
That's the fact, Jack!
DateLine, West Virginia redo. As we mentioned earlier, Senator Jay Rockefeller is retiring after almost 30 years as a representative in the upper chamber of Congress. As a typical Democrat, this multimillionaire is the champion of the downtrodden. He lives in an $18 million mansion and rarely gets back to the Mountain State. But when he does go back to see the peons back home in West Virginia, in typical big carbon footprint liberal hypocrite style, he flies in a private jet. His state is only 60 miles from D.C., yet he flies almost exclusively via private charter plane at $4,400 per trip and sends the bill to the taxpayers.
Say what?
That's right. He charges the poor taxpayer over $4,400 when there are as many as 6 commercial flights a day between D.C. and Charleston, West Virginia that cost only $206 for a round-trip ticket for the 1-hour flight. These are the liberals in D.C. looking out for the folks. These are the liberals in D.C. who get rich while 23% of Americans live in poverty. These are the liberals in D.C. that try to tell everyone else to pay their fair share and then charge the folks to pay their fair share as well.
Shame on you.
But what do you expect from the party that has the Vice President of the United States, Joe Biden, housing the Secret Service near his home, in a home that he owns, and he charges the taxpayer rent for the same Secret Servicemen living there to protect him? All I have to say is that we, as taxpayers, are fed up with liberal hypocrites talking about shared sacrifice and charging us to fly them here and there, or charging us to house the Secret Service to protect them. It's time you pay your own fair share, or get out of D.C.
Talk about chicken shit.
DateLine. Reality. Redo. For those of you who look at the presidential approval ratings and think to yourself,
say what?
Let CFJ give you a little dose of reality. Just as white guilt and black pride got Barack Obama elected in 2008, approving of his job performance, in general, is more emotional than fact-based. Let's dissect the numbers to show you Obama's true approval rating. Looking at the latest McClatchy poll, President Obama has a 40% job approval rating.
Say what?
I know. You're thinking, how can such a disaster of a president with 7 million people pushed into poverty since he took office, on his way to taking the national debt to $20 trillion after inheriting $10 trillion, and that 10 took over 200 years to accrue, and with some subgroups of society like black youths wallowing near 40% unemployment, how can 40% of America approve of this horrible job performance? Well, 40% don't. Look deeper into the McClatchy numbers and Obama's approval on each of the specific topics on the minds of the people today, and you get the real job approval. Obama's approval on the economy, 39%.
Say what?
Hey, I just report the news.
Say what?
Okay, now you're getting a little annoying. Like I said, 39% approve of his handling of the economy. On foreign policy, only 33% approve. On the Israeli-Hamas conflict, 30% approve. And only 32% approve of the way he has handled the Ukraine crisis. And if you average all those out, Obama has a real approval rating of 33%. A far cry from the, quote, I can't disapprove of him because he's black, unquote, 40% approval rating in the same poll. If you factor in that most polls weight Democrats more than Republicans, and this specific poll actually says that of Republicans that support the Tea Party, 9% of them approve of Obama's job performance.
Say what?
I knew you'd say that. Factor in this phony Tea Party favorability number and the other factors, and Obama, on his real job approval, is pushing the 20s.
That's the fact, Jack! That's a fact, Jack!
And that's DateLine for this day, August 25th, 2014.